Welcome to the EUTalk podcast, a discipleship resource produced and edited by Utah Baptist Church. We pray our content encourages and equips you to grow deeper in the faith, closer to the family, and live a life of gospel focus. Thank you for tuning in.
All right. Thank you so much, recorded voice of Krishana Tarleton. She always makes it on the podcast, and she does a better job than Josh and I ever do. But today we have EUTalk episode 20. I'm so excited to have in our, I guess we could call it a studio, former office, former library, former small group room, the EUTalk podcast studio. And I have with me today Neal Huntley from Midway Baptist Church.
Yes, sir.
I forgot, you just recently started in.
So I'm associate pastor now.
Okay.
Been youth pastor since 2018. And so kind of taking on both roles, kind of like a hybrid right
Gotcha.
now. So,
like a hybrid. Dude, that I feel the joy of that, and we're a little bit rogue renegades today.
Yep.
Josh is not in the studio with us, so
we tried.
We tried. He is an extremely busy person, and so I'm glad that I could at least have a chance to sit down with Neal. I'm here as the family pastor, getting to work with the greatest children's director in the world, Krishana Tarleton. And just advise and counsel and love on families, as well as mainly getting to serve with students. And
Amen.
You've been in student ministry since 2018.
Yep.
I have as well towards the end of 2017 and 2018. Man, that is today's conversation. It is going to be on student ministry. We've had an opportunity to meet and talk a little bit about Grind Week at the end of the summer. We'll talk more about that in a minute. But this conversation on student ministry, why it's important, what it's meant to you, and maybe start with just how you got started in it. I know we've talked a little bit, but how you got started in student ministry, and how that's kind of like woven into your heart.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, I can't start talking about my love for youth ministry without talking about my youth leaders growing up. Michael and Carla Freeman were husband and wife duo that just, they just knocked it out of the park every single time. And I always think back to them and just how much I enjoyed being a student in that. And then as I got older, we had some more parents step in once they, kind of let go of the reins and handed it over. And having that as the base was a beautiful blessing to have. And then when I was working at Fort Caswell for many years in college, staying as an intern there one off season, they encouraged us to get plugged in at a church. And I had been going to Beach Road Baptist down in Southport for a while. And was able to go and get on with kind of being a small group leader with my buddy John Harris and Dalton Ricker. And John's actually in youth ministry now, out towards a little further west of Shelby.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so he didn't know he was going to do that quite yet, and I didn't either when we were doing that.
That is awesome.
So it's just awesome to see, looking at that point, where we are now. And then moving back home after Caswell, opportunity opened up to be interim youth pastor at Midway Baptist Church in Wingate. Some people say it's near the landfill, which it is, but we don't want to be known as being near the landfill. I always say we're 5 minutes north of Wingate University.
Come on, isn't it? Wasn't it? Was it George Mueller or somebody that was like, I don't want to be like a country club. I want to be a rescue shop.
That's right.
A step out of hell.
That's right.
You got a good illustration.
Well,
there.
when the sun's going down, it's got a really good silhouette of what looks like a mountain, but it's not. We've got to be honest with ourselves.
There you go.
But being there since 2018. And having so many awesome students and watching them grow and leading them to the Lord, and also having the opportunity to do that at school in Waxhaw at North Point Christian Academy too, where I'm director of student faith development, which has been an awesome blessing there. It's been a beautiful time, and not only to see them grow, but just to see how the Lord has led me to grow in so many ways that like I was telling you earlier, me at 20 years old, he'd probably laugh at me that what I'm doing right now, I had a sense of what was going to happen, but not at this level, and it's a tremendous blessing, absolutely.
So in your call to ministry, I'm going to circle back and ask a little bit about your family in just a second, but
Sure.
In your call to ministry, do you feel like that student call was simultaneous, or you had a pull towards, man, I want to serve the Lord through the church in whatever way I can?
Right.
Like,
So,
how did that operate?
Yeah, so my first call to ministry is one of those times at Caswell when I was going as a camper, as a student, and I knew I'd been saved. I knew that my profession of faith was genuine, was real. I had that firm foundation. And then they said, well, if you feel called to go into ministry, come talk to us. And I got up not knowing what in the world I was doing. I really I felt the urge to go hear what they had to say. And I didn't do it because my buddy did. I was the only one in the group that went, and that was totally fine. And that just kind of stayed in the back of my mind for a while. And then fast forward to freshman year of college, my first summer working at Caswell, that I almost didn't want to stay at. And walking across from the fort back to the staff house at night, it was just me out there. And it was a calm, cool breeze, very, very humid. You're on the Outer Banks, it's going to be hot and humid. But I felt just a tremendous peace. And I said, Lord, I feel like you're calling me to do something like this. I don't know what it is just yet, but I'm going to pursue it. And ever since I said, Lord, I don't know what it is, but I'm going to trust you, going back to the kind of surrender that we talked about earlier this morning, it's just kind of been like God's just kind of been leaving breadcrumbs, just here, follow this, follow that, and it led to the opportunity to serve at Beach Road in that aspect, and led to where we are now. It's just a tremendous thing.
It's cool too that a lot of times some guys, I think you talk to them and they're like, I wanted to work with students.
Yeah.
Student ministry, student ministry, student ministry.
Yep.
Well, the other thing you have to realize is that if you're a young man in ministry, and I'd say we're both still young, 31.
Yeah.
If you're a young man in ministry, we oftentimes the place that they need people to go serve and go influence is in the generation. I love how you started with who influenced you. For me, I was really discipled for the first time when I was in college.
Yeah.
And so almost went the FCA route because of that, but was plugged into to just wanting to take people through the Bible because somebody did that with me.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing that happens in the call is that you just lose a taste for every other type of life, or it just doesn't make sense to you that you would do something else. You could do something else. I mean, everybody can do something, and many people do both.
Absolutely.
But I think there's a special call of just on somebody who's in ministry's life to just have an affection for that type of thing.
Absolutely. And, just to see how God's using you in your the calling that He's called you into, and to go back to somewhere that you thought was who you were for so many years, like it was with me with football too. When I was in Charlotte at UNC Charlotte, at one time I had a history major and an education minor, and I did the education classes, and I had like basically a mini panic attack because I didn't want to be a teacher. I thought it had to be because I loved history, I love research, I love writing. Yeah. But I thought, well, the only thing I can do is be a teacher with that. And
That's so funny.
And I dropped down to education. I didn't want to do it. And I told my mom, and my dad, I said, look, I know how to research, I know how to read, and it'll be useful some way. I have no idea. And then when the opportunity came to teach at North Point, I basically just laughed and said, God, this is hilarious. I would have never thought I would be teaching and it leading into a ministry role there too. And it's just, you think you make plans, and you think you have it under control sometimes, even when we don't try to have control. And God's like, you just sit back and wait. You have no idea. And that's the fun part, is that we're on this great adventure.
There's a crossroads, isn't there, between, I think, just in growing up. A lot of times people think, like, we're 31 and we have jobs we're supposed to be. We got it all figured out. Like, there's a process for us at some point where what was practical had to intersect with where our hearts were. Yes. And so I'm sure like teaching and getting that degree is super practical. I was telling you a minute ago, I was a criminal justice major. I did the 9-month process for my interview with Wildlife Resources, not because I had this massive pull to law enforcement, which you kind of need if you're going to go into law enforcement, but because I was a criminal justice major. Yep. I'm going to be on my own in 6-8 months. I need to support my family. I love the outdoors. I love to hunt and fish. I have a pull towards supporting conservation, all of those things, but they were all practical. And it's so funny how it can seem like it's almost a death sentence to forsake the practical. Yeah. And the Lord is just so kind in taking our tiny, meager offering of whatever we have at the table, whether it's nothing, and just kind of supplying what we need.
Absolutely.
What is it? I recently heard that manna for today. Like, man, I was trying to store up so much manna for 9 months to figure out how I was going to support my family, and the Lord was like, "How about you just eat what you're supposed to eat?" Yeah, you know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
But man, specifically in student ministry, that's so funny. Evan, early, I have to not answer your phone call right now. I apologize. I'm speaking to a former Caswell roommate
That's
of
right.
yours.
Room 10, baby, for life. I think he was in room 10. If not, he stayed in there most of the time.
Man, that's awesome. I'll have to text him in just a second. But shifting gears, what's it been like to serve in? You said something earlier when we were talking that I loved. What's it like to serve in student ministry in Union County?
The family aspect is beautiful, man. It truly is. Union County has some really awesome historical roots to it, and it's great to see that as modern as Union County is getting, with being basically a giant Charlotte suburb now, that it's not losing that family aspect. Actually, people move here and realize how much they like it, and they don't want to really change it. And I'm not saying that we're stuck in like old deep-rooted ways, but the genuine of just the character of this place it's staying there because it's real, because it's genuine. And people that are in our churches, they're coming not for themselves. They're coming to see what the Lord has for them and how they can use them. I mean, you see so many churches across this county, no matter if it's, got 500 people or 50 people, there's people in there serving,
right?
And there's that sense of community as well, which was unheard of growing up in my time. I feel old saying my time now, but like being in youth in late 2000s, 2010s, it just kind of felt like everybody kind of stayed within their youth group, and then you saw each other at school, Yeah. But now, with there being so many different schools in the county and people going to different churches that aren't necessarily just right down the road,
connectivity is way different.
Yeah, it's way different, and it's a beautiful thing to be part of that growing, continue family legacy that goes all throughout this county. Right.
So you said your time was different, and I would say our times were definitely different.
Sure.
Specifically because of the type of distractions that we dealt with versus like sin hasn't changed.
No.
Temptation hasn't changed, but the types of distractions we struggled with are probably on more of a JV level to the varsity level distractions people deal with today.
100%.
But I don't think it's just, I've served in different types of counties. And so I agree with everything that you have said in that it's not really a keeping to an old way.
Yeah.
It's more of just a lack of distraction. It's a lack of Jesus plus blank that takes place. And it's still out here. I mean, it's still, there's where there's people, there's going to be idols, and there's going to be pride, and there's going to be things that we have to there's going to be things that everybody has to overcome. Like, don't get me wrong. Just because we're in the country doesn't mean we've somehow figured out Christianity.
Yeah. No, not, yeah.
But the cultural aspect of really what was, I think, taking place even in the early in the New Testament, and what it looks like for a community to take care of itself and to be dependent on rain and sun for income.
Oh, yeah.
Just that these things translate so much faster than what the inner city provides. And it's just different challenges. But you see that I've just been blown away by my own student group that I've been able to get to serve here, in just a genuine desire to learn and grow, because you're not wading through so much distraction.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, we have a group at Midway that, we have a couple that are in Christian school, some are in public school, some go to charter school.
Right.
And so they see so many different atmospheres, and I used to think that was going to be a challenge to teach them how to minister in different ways, but it's not up to me. I would seek the Lord each week, how can we do this? How can we talk about this? And, you've been there before too, where what the Lord wants you to say, and we have to get out of our own way to go say it. And then all of a sudden it clicks while you're saying it too,
Right.
And you can have the longest beautifully written outline in the world.
Right.
And then the Lord's like, not using that.
Yeah.
And you have to see where it just that we talked about earlier, that light bulb going off. It's one of my favorite things to see with the students, whether it's at school at North Point or at Midway, when they see that connection, that this promise was made here, and then we flip some pages and that promise is right there.
Right.
We're going through right now. We're going through some people in the Old Testament.
Right.
We just talked about Deborah, last week.
Come on.
And that's an awesome story. That's, a lot of teenagers don't think about reading in Judges. They don't think about going in the Old Testament.
Right.
And, just to see like, whoa, that's an amazing thing. Yeah, it really, especially in that time period, was unheard of culturally for something like that to happen.
Right.
And just to take them on different journeys. And we call them biblical side quests sometimes. We take a lot of side quests on Sunday nights. And their desire, their hunger for where is this and how can I tell my friend about it? It's just it's a blessing to see.
That's really, really good. I think I love the side quest thought that you're talking about. Man, I've transitioned more than some people would say is good in ministry, starting out in ministry, and just praise God for just His faithfulness through it all, and especially in bringing us to Utah, because it's been so good. But I agree, man, that when somebody walks up to you after a Wednesday night or a Sunday night, whenever you guys meet, and have that look in their eye, and they say, "Can I talk to you for a second?" And it's a student, and you're just like, man, I feel like I'm transported in those moments to when I needed to talk to somebody. And the thing that I used to dread, especially early in ministry, was like, am I going to have the right words to say?
Right.
And I think the thing that I've just been instilled has been just the simplicity of the gospel, to the point of it in its simplest God, man, Christ response, in its simplest psalms, in its simplest encouragements. It has the power of the Spirit to will and to work good things in the lives of these students. And I think that, and I'm going to shift gears just for a second for the last little bit of this. I think that is why you bring a bunch of, I don't want to say they're not small youth groups. I would say normative youth groups, student ministries. You bring a bunch of normative ministries together and say, what, Grind Week, which is our conference that takes place at the end of the summer before the fall semester. You bring that together under the reality that it isn't the lights, the smoke, the whistles, and all the stuff. It is the simple gospel that goes forth into the ears and then the hearts of students. Man, I've only been doing it for one. I've only done it 1 year. And
you did a great job, by the way.
Oh, dude, thanks. If you can remember
job.
it. No, I've only only gone through it one time, and just to see the raw, genuine excitement for the Bible being opened was so beautiful. And so I say that to transition into, this is a little bit of advertisement, first public advertisement for Grind Week 2025, which is going to be August 17th to 20th.
I'm so excited.
I am too, dude. We've added the fourth day so that it's more of a week than 3 days, because I think 3 days was a COVID decision at one point, which is great. But Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So we'll end on kind of hopefully the first kickoff Wednesday night for a lot of people when they move up in the fall. And the theme this year is surrender. Talking about full surrender to the Lord. Why are we not? Why are we still have battle arms up in opposition to Him in places in our lives? Or what would it look like for us to just lay down our will and take up our cross and live? And so to live as a sacrifice, as Romans 12, 1 and 2 brings us to. And so really excited for Mark Navy to come preach through the main sessions this fall. But man, just give me a couple of highlights from just why Grind Week's been good. You've been doing it for more years than I have.
Yeah, so I mean, I think we didn't come my first year in full-time youth ministry just because I was still getting my feet wet.
Right.
And that was pretty early on. But I remember coming the first year, and it was very foreign to me to have so many youth groups together. But it wasn't that I didn't like it. I just didn't really know, hey, how does this work? You know? And then once I realized what's going on here, I mean, I was thrown back in such an awesome way. And we've had so many great memories at Grind Week. It's so great when you bring your youth group in, and there's another youth group, and the kids know each other, and they'll link up, and they'll goof off with each other. And just that, going back to the family aspect, that where it's one big family that just feels like it can move from this station to this station to this station. And the games are fun. That's great. But where the Word opens up, it's always just a powerful moment.
Right.
I mean, you can truly feel the Spirit of the Lord. in grind week.
Right.
And sometimes I take grind week as a grind for me too.
Yeah.
Because I mean that's right when school starts.
Right.
And I'm in Waxhaw during the day, so
Yep.
I drive home. I kiss my kids on the head, and I'm driving up to this way too, and
The very tip top of Marshall.
the very tip top of Marshall. Yes. I don't think Randy Travis ever came up this way.
No.
But two grind weeks ago, so not this past one, but another one. One of the kids in our youth group, his name's Karsten, and he's probably going to get shy that I'm talking about him. But he's not very outgoing. He's very to himself, very knowledgeable, super smart kid. And he felt the call to receive Christ one night, two grind weeks ago, and he did something I never thought he would do. I thought it would be more of a, hey, Neal, can I talk? I want, kind of go through this kind of stuff. But that night, when the speaker got done, he said, look, if you feel the Lord tugging at your heart, he said, I'm not trying to mess with your emotions. I feel somebody, is feeling called to do that. Just be bold and stand up, receive Christ tonight, and just like a lightning bolt. I mean, the kid that barely talks, that only talks when he has really something good to say, and that's a good, wise thing to have.
Right.
But to see him shoot up with no fear, no anxiousness, no worry, that I'm receiving Christ tonight. I mean, that was I go back to that night so many times when I see him, just because he was sitting right beside me. I went, whoa, Carson just stood up,
Yeah.
And so and that was an amazing thing, and to see him get baptized and all that stuff, it was really cool. Yeah.
Man, that's so good. I'm excited for what we've got coming up. We oftentimes will do like a different speaker every night, which we may go back to that at a later point too. But I'm really excited for Pastor Mark from Provision Church to come preach to us for 3 nights straight. And so it'll be all the things. It'll be the games and the welcoming, the food, the walking tacos, which I found out what that was for the first time.
That was a new experience, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was the first time I realized that this past year. But man, I'm really, really thankful that you could sit down and talk with me just about student ministry and how you got called into it. We could probably do 20 different podcasts on student ministry, on like how to encourage leaders and other stuff, which maybe we can venture to do that at some point.
Absolutely.
But I want to ask you just a little bit, when did you meet your wife?
We met in 2017.
So you just graduated.
Just graduated. Was working at Caswell, so she was up here. She was working at Piedmont Middle School teaching.
Okay, cool.
And I was at Caswell, and we actually started talking the night that Chapel Hill won the national championship in basketball.
Come on.
Yeah, she messaged me during the second half.
Now, are y'all Chapel Hill fans?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I would say loosely
You're a
now.
Charlotte fan.
Oh, yeah. I'm always Niners
Go
first.
Niners.
Yeah, always Niners first. But I mean, you know how it is now in ministry. What is ball games? We don't get to watch those that much. But I remember we started talking that night, and I always joke with her that if Carolina would have lost, I probably wouldn't have texted back. But I remember the next morning when we talked, and a couple days later, somehow, some way, I talked her into coming down to Caswell.
Yeah.
To driving from Marshville to come down here. I think her and her mom were going on a beach trip anyway.
Yeah.
And we went on our first date to Wilmington, and man, I light up every time I talk about it.
Yeah.
I talked and talked and talked that whole trip. We drove from Oak Island to Wilmington, which
we are so similar.
Which is about 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And I don't think I was quiet until we crossed the river bridge in Wilmington.
Right.
And I was so nervous just because, one, she's gorgeous. I was like, good gracious, what am I doing here? 2, I knew her grandparents but never knew her. I knew her grandparents my whole life.
Right.
Never met her until that night. And I think I was so nervous. I had the most orange plate ever. I'd ordered buffalo shrimp with sweet potato fries. It made no sense why I had such an orange plate.
That is awesome.
But it's just been such an amazing blessing. We're celebrating our anniversary coming up. Going out to Arizona tomorrow.
Come on. Just
to celebrate that. And not only to have a wonderful wife that loves the Lord.
Yeah.
But she works at North Point too.
Right.
And we're partners in ministry too.
Yeah.
Not only at Midway, but at North Point too. And she has stepped out of her mom role this year, which was a challenge at first.
Mm-hmm. 2 beautiful kids, right?
Yeah, 2 wonderful kids, Graham and Caroline. And they're nuts, man. They're hilarious. But she kind of stepped out of her comfort zone because she felt the Lord calling her to build some deeper relationships with some of these girls at school.
Right.
And that led to her kind of unofficially leading like a worship team. And we went from just showing music videos in our chapel services to having live worship.
Wow.
In less than a year. I mean, to have 7th and 8th graders wanting to play guitar and play box drum and, have the lyrics right and make sure that they're up there and just to be genuinely worshiping.
Right.
And all seeing God use my wife in that way has been so humbling, and so beautiful at the same time, because I watched her grow in that way to where she's been in mom mode for all these years, and kids go to bed, she's clocked out, she's got to go to bed too.
Right.
But now where she's staying up and she's studying and
Yeah.
kind of makes me look bad sometimes,
Come on.
And it's been a beautiful thing. I thank the Lord every day for Amber.
Right.
I truly do.
Usually people start with these conversations at the
Yeah.
beginning of podcasts. I think we need to normalize talking about our wives at the end.
Absolutely.
Bethany, I love you. I'm so thankful for you and all that you do for us.
Absolutely.
But
and
yeah,
being patient with us too, right?
Dude, oh Lord, every day, this morning, tomorrow morning, please be patient.
Yes.
Please be patient. But man, I'm super thankful that you were able to sit down and talk for a little bit and just come visit today.
Absolutely,
it's
man.
getting on your schedule is difficult
It's
because
fun.
you're 100 miles a minute.
That's right. Yeah, summertime now, and we can do this more often for a couple months at least.
Yeah. Well, dude, I'm excited. I'm excited for the end of the fall. I pray you guys have a blast at Caswell. I know you're going to Caswell.
very excited
at the
about
beginning
that.
of July, and just so thankful for what God's doing through your ministry. But thank you guys for joining us. Please sign your kid up for Grind Week. The website, QR codes, and all that will be live this week. See ya.